Big updates in the trade war developments. It looks like the US and China are going to be getting a big deal done. And this is as Donald Trump is going to be heading to the UK for the second time on a state visit. He's gone to Canada exactly 0 times. I don't include any of the summits with all the other countries. And Canada is left to try and get a deal done with China as they continue to have one of the largest industries get decimated by Chinese tariffs. So this is all connected. And maybe Donald Trump is choosing to leave Canada behind because Canada's government is falling apart. We have breaking news that Canada is losing MPs, and I never thought I'd say this, give her some credit for the decision. It might be a smart move based on everything that's happening, and the deficit is going absolutely insane. Canadians will be broke at the end of this Liberal term if this does not change, but luckily we've got some more updates on some foreign entrepreneurs who are here to save us, especially some conservative MPs we really like to highlight on the channel. I wanted to talk about yesterday, but they're trending today. There's a lot to talk about in today's video, and I'm still sick from yesterday, so we're just going to have some fun with it. Stick around to the end. The foreign entrepreneur stuff is actually insane. Let's get into it.
In terms of the agreement, the overall agreement itself, our Chinese counterparts have come with very aggressive asks. We will see if we can get there. At present, we are not willing to sacrifice our national security for a social media app.
Again, the Secretary is referring to our TikTok discussions. We have had general discussions as well about the trade situation. We have huge imbalances, persistent, massive trade imbalance with China. We've been consistent, over many weeks and months about this issue. It's always helpful to talk to our colleagues. I don't think we found a path forward on that.
Yeah, it's been pretty interesting to see, especially because, okay, obviously the trade deal is seemingly the #1 issue. But when you look at the economic value of TikTok, it's actually pretty insane. And I think that's why it's become such a central point of the discussions, because a lot of businesses in the US and Canada, honestly, all over the world, do rely on TikTok to a pretty high degree.
That was Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer detailing China trade talks in Madrid this week and the difficulties they saw over the TikTok deal. The president, of course, has been urging corporate America to move their supply chains to America so that the U.S. can be less reliant on communist China. U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer joins me right now. Ambassador, great to see you. Thank you so much for being here. We so appreciate your time and your work on all of this. Can you walk us through a bit about what was accomplished in this, was it the 4th meeting?
Yes, good to see you, Maria. Happy to talk to you about what happened at the meeting with the Chinese. We were in Madrid.
Last time I saw him on here, there was just a guy doing the lawn behind it. It was so funny.
Spain this time. And this meeting was really focused on TikTok. You'll know, of course, that the TikTok saga has gone on for a long time. Toward the end of his first term, President Trump set about to solve it. Over the course of the Biden administration, they grappled with this issue but could not solve it. But as of yesterday, we believe that President Trump has in fact resolved this issue, balancing the national security needs of the United States with the economic realities of having TikTok operating in the United States of America.
It's looking like now, allegedly, Oracle could be taking over ownership or some sort of oversight. It hasn't been 100% confirmed. It seems like it's all but confirmed, and that's why Oracle's been going insane lately, but interesting to see it develop.
Questions were really focused on that. How do we get to a place where Chinese concerns are addressed and American national security priorities are taken care of? And that's what we achieved.
Yes, so the good thing is they did achieve the actual deal and agreement getting done as far as, yes, there will be some change of ownership. And then they just made this announcement later today after that video came out, and it said that Trump extends the deadline to secure the TikTok deal until December 16th. He did announce that right before he left to the UK, and I actually thought this was a really important state visit based on everything that's going on, especially when it pertains to the Canada-US trade relations, because again, like I said at the beginning of the video, Donald Trump has not made a state visit to Canada. I don't include him going to a G7 summit because that's not a state visit to Canada. Yes, he was going to that summit, basically. He wasn't meeting with Mark Carney. So I think this in particular, that he's going there, this is a big deal.
Trump, as I mentioned, is now on his way to London for his second state visit to the United Kingdom. Roll tape. my relationship is very good with the UK, and Charles, as you know, who's now king, is my friend. And it's the first time this has ever happened where somebody was honored twice, so it's a great honor. And this one's at Windsor. They've never used Windsor Castle for this before. They used Buckingham Palace. And I don't want to say one's better than the other, but they say Windsor Castle is the ultimate, right? They want to see if they can refine the trade deal a little bit. We made a deal, and it's a great deal.
Marcus.
So just before we get into what the experts are going to say, I do think it's really interesting that like the media says like, oh, nobody takes Trump seriously. And yet we have President Donald J. Trump, mount up patriots. We got the mug, getting invited for a second, state visit with the King of England and all that stuff. So like, obviously in some capacity, these world leaders know he's the guy. He's the man we got to deal with. So like, because especially you see it on Canadian media all the time, like, oh, well, nobody takes what Trump says seriously. Well, why do they want to meet with him all the time? Why does nobody actually want to get a deal done with Carney?
Joining me now, Marcus, great to see you.
Nice
Thank
to
you
see
for
you.
being here. So there are some difficulties, right, in our relation with the UK. Some of it involves what's happening on the streets in London, their efforts to silence any kind of criticism in very direct, non-First Amendment ways. What are you expecting from this meeting?
Well, we have some of those issues here, just the same. And so I think that
I wouldn't say just the same. They have a pretty restrictive law concerning speech that goes way beyond what we do here because we have the First Amendment.
Fair enough. I think what President Trump is doing is he watched a video a couple of weeks ago of India, China, and Russia getting together. And I think he's thinking, where do I build some alliances here? And how do I use technology as the bridge to do some of that?
Some of the announcement coming out, this is going to be a pretty huge deal with like some AI cooperation and some other tech integration that would be between the UK and the US. And like they said, one of the big issues would be the free speech thing. And what do you guys think of Pam Bondi's statements? She just made that statement about, oh, we're going to be cracking down on hate speech and we're going to be changing these things.
What I'm feeling is going to happen here.
And concerning specifically trade, I mean, we already have a trade agreement with the UK now. They cobbled that together. They've got another add-on to that. It seems that for all of the differences between these two guys, a very liberal PM and a conservative president of the United States, they're finding a lot of mutuality here.
Well, money creates commonality, and I think President Trump understands that. It's still a very big economy, and having a partnership with them is going to bridge a lot of gaps for us.
All right.
Yeah, I think so, absolutely. And then they go on to talk about the protests that we saw on September 13th. Did you guys see that? Obviously, it was pretty funny to watch the media sort of be like, oh, yeah, there was thousands of people at the protests. And then you see the helicopter footage and it's like, yeah, I think that's a bit of an understatement. But speaking of, alliances and changes, we are seeing this continue to heat up between the US and Venezuela. And I actually thought the announcements coming out of Venezuela are starting to get pretty heated. I think this is something we actually need to pay more attention to, especially now with the Canadian government falling apart at the seams. The stuff we're going to get into makes it look like it's the frickin' Looney Tunes over there. And obviously there was the Charlie Kirk tragedy and all of these things. And, now Israel Gaza's heating up. There's all this stuff. So this story would be front page news, but it's kind of getting lost. But I think it's worth paying attention to. Have you liked the video yet? We're trying to get these videos out in front of more people. We are trying to grow the channel. If you like what we talk about here, feel free to subscribe. Love to have you on board. Let's get back to it.
Military carrying out a strike on an alleged drug-carrying vessel from Venezuela, believed to be en route to the United States. According to U.S. President Donald Trump, the strike was carried out in international waters, killing 3 people. The attack comes 2 weeks after 11 people were killed in another strike, targeting a boat believed to be carrying drugs from the South American country. The White House justifying the military action as a necessary escalation to stem the flow of drugs into the U.S. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro describing the attacks as, quote, an aggression, adding there is no direct communication between the two governments.
And again, the reason why I think this is so important to pay attention to is not that, okay, first of all, I want to dial this back a bit. I don't think this is going to happen between Canada and the U.S., but we are seeing the amount of drug trafficking at the Canada-U.S. border, thanks to Canada's wonderful foreign entrepreneurs, which we will get into later in the video. That we could see if this is going to continue to escalate and they are going to get this serious about cracking down on these. I think Canada could be in line for some new rules, some new restrictions. At the very least, it's been wild.
Well, I would say this right away. Stop sending Tren de Aragua into the United States. Stop sending drugs into the United States. We knocked off actually 3 boats, not 2, but you saw 2. I would say to them very strongly, stop sending people from your prisons into our country. They're sending their prisoners. They've done that already.
Also, and the reason why I think it's worth paying attention to this, one, he makes an announcement here that says, hey, we're cutting all ties with the United States. We're done with them. If anything, this is an act of aggression, and we are just looking at it as that. So essentially, he didn't say it directly, but it's as close as you can get to they're saying, hey, we're in a war. So that's why I'm like, I'm surprised this is not, more front page news. That's happening exactly in Canada, and Mark Carney continues to double down on these horrible ideas as Canada's government continues to just absolutely collapse. And what he's doing right now, Carney heads to Mexico to repair strained ties and boost trade. Again, doubling down on trying to get a bilateral deal with Mexico behind Trump's back. We can't get a single meeting with Trump. The best thing Carney could do was said, oh, I've been texting with Trump. We're going to get a deal done. Meanwhile, we've sent multiple delegations down to Mexico. Now Mark Carney's going himself. Mark Carney heads to Mexico this Thursday as part of his push to expand trade with the countries beyond the United States. A visit that will also serve to patch up strained ties with one of Canada's top 5 export markets. Wait until you find out how the ties were strained. The Prime Minister's 2-day trip is the latest effort after 3 visits to Europe to diversify trade away from the increasingly protectionist United States. Mr. Carney meets with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum at the National Palace in Mexico City. Both leaders will likely have in mind several incidents from 2024. These are so funny that I would prefer to put behind them. Last November, Mexicans were upset that Canadian politicians, including Ontario Premier Doug Ford and Alberta Premier Danielle Smith, publicly talked of cutting Mexico out of the Continental Free Trade Deal. So Canada, innocent little elbows up Canada, tried to cut out Mexico so that Canada could win more. But Canada's just such a good trade partner. Canada's perfect. They're innocent. Then Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland also declined to rule out a separate bilateral trade deal with the United States when asked about the Ontario Premier's comments. So funny. We will be getting into Freeland shortly. Mr. Ford compounded the Mexicans' anger. This is classic Doug Ford here. With comments he made when he rejected Mr. Trump's plan to impose sweeping tariffs on both Canada and Mexico. To compare us to Mexico is the most insulting thing I've ever heard from our friends and closest allies, the United States of America, Premier said last November. Oh my gosh. First of all, hilarious tone change by calling them that, but also what did you mean by that, Doug? What did you mean by it's the most insulting thing you've ever heard to be compared to Mexico? Classic Doug knows how to get a deal done, and as we know, Canada's trying to get a deal done with China because our largest export industry for agriculture is getting smoked. Here's this update here.
With harvest underway in Saskatchewan and across Canada, many producers are worried about the impact of tariffs. Scott Moe plans to speak with the Prime Minister regarding Chinese tariffs and how to make international trade easier for those in Saskatchewan. Hallie Mandrick with the story.
Premier Scott Moe is on his way to Ottawa following a recent trip to China and Japan.
It was, at least or even more positive than I had anticipated. And again, I say there, and I've said this before, there are going to be steps in building this relationship that will ultimately culminate in, the Prime Minister and the President coming to some sort of agreement. That's the hope, that's the ambition, and that's, what we hope to see before the end of the calendar year.
According to Moe,
yeah, he was mostly talking about his trips to the maid cafes in Japan, not his actual relationship with China there.
Meetings had a specific focus on Chinese tariffs imposed on Canadian canola and other Saskatchewan exports. This comes as relations between Canada and its largest trading partner, the United States, have been heavily strained due to tariffs imposed by President Donald Trump, making Canada focus on strengthening relationships with other trade partners.
China is very interested in not looking back but looking forward and in recalibrating the trade relationship that we have and moving forward in a pragmatic and reasonable fashion that is good for both countries.
For Saskatchewan producers, the meeting comes at an important time.
It's a financial burden on farmers, and the longer it drags out, the more harm there's going to be done to producers' bottom lines.
And not just the producers are one thing, but when you look at the economic value of this industry getting smoked, we're not talking small numbers. We're talking tens of billions tens and tens of thousands of jobs being lost. But obviously, Mark Carney's got the best idea. And what's the best idea? Don't provide a budget and just spend unlimited money, which is going to lead into our Chrystia Freeland announcement after this clip.
Prime Minister Mark Carney has already pledged billions of dollars in new spending.
Hello, people of Nepean.
For housing, defense, and tariff relief. Soon, he'll have to show how he's going to pay for it.
Mr. Carney has made it very, very clear that all ministers and all departments must participate in making the government more efficient.
There will be a budget in the coming weeks. Expect lots of red ink.
And I don't want to characterize the deficit other than what I've already said. It's substantial and needs to be dealt with.
That deficit.
The cuts have been so funny. It's like, look, guys, we're going to spend $13 billion to build 6 houses. Yes, I know the number's 4,000. The idea is still insane when the free option is to just cut immigration to zero, which we will get into why that would be even better for Canada. But then on top of that, they go, oh, and we're actually cutting a lot of entry-level jobs. So yeah, we've cut 300 people who made 60 to 80K a year, but we just introduced $50 billion in new spending. So we're saving lots.
It is expected to be bigger than last year's, which was almost $62 billion.
So a trivia question. Can the Prime Minister tell us, has there ever been a Prime Minister who has successfully doubled the deficit without even introducing a budget?
It's a trick question. Mr. Speaker, this government is undertaking the biggest investment in protecting Canadians in the Canadian military.
Earlier this year, ministers were asked to find ambitious savings.
Speaking of what the reaction is to that, we have, and I think, a very smart move and announcement from Chrystia Freeland. Let's get into this here.
I'm Todd Vanderheyden. This is CTV News Channel. It's great to have you listen from across the country on this Tuesday. And a big change coming to the federal government. Chrystia Freeland has officially resigned from cabinet. She served in key portfolios, finance, foreign affairs, handling the trade file between Canada and the United States under both Justin Trudeau, Mark Carney. She has now left cabinet. She's set to become a special envoy on Ukraine. Freeland is of Ukrainian descent. She's been very outspoken in condemning Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine, singling out Vladimir Putin numerous times. In fact, she was banned and sanctioned by Russia years ago. However, some of her comments comes as Prime Minister Mark Carney has promised deeper Canadian involvement in trying to stop the war. We are expecting to hear from Freeland later this afternoon, but she did release a statement.
It's actually so funny. Here's why I gotta say respect to Freeland, okay? When Justin Trudeau, so as much as she's an absolute idiot and she does every single thing wrong, she's clearly good at playing the political game. That's how she got to where she was. When she saw, okay, Justin Trudeau is on the outs, it looks like the Conservatives are going to come in and do a clean sweep. She said, you know what? Actually, I'm standing up to Justin Trudeau. I don't want to be a part of his cabinet anymore. I'm going to step back. But then when the Liberals said, no, we're going to get rid of Trudeau. We're going to do a new cabinet. And one of her big things was spending. Oh, Trudeau's wasting too much money. There's too much spending. We got to rein that in. She's been greasing palms for years. It's so evil, but it's so genius. She literally said, oh, you want a $1 billion contract? You want a $1 billion contract? You want a $1 billion contract? So she's been handing that out. And now she's going to be the liaison between all of those contracts, between the connections. But now she gets to step back from basically any level of public scrutiny. It's so hilarious that this level of most likely, okay, alleged corruption is going on. And another reason I think she's stepping back is we're getting articles like this. The Liberal staffers strategized over $1 billion loan for Chinese ferries while Freeland dismissed the federal connection. So she's under fire for billion-dollar deals getting signed with the Chinese government. As evil and destructive I personally believe she is, she made a great political move, but don't worry, we've got these cutting-edge, amazing, very smart, very cool. That's a Conservative MP who's holding the Liberals to account. Let's get into what he has to say.
This will propose that this bill goes to committee for proper review, for proper safeguards to be put in place so that Canadian citizenship is not misused, it's not abused, and it's equally valued by the hardworking non-born Canadians like me, like millions other, so that they also feel appreciated. there should be no two-tier test for immigration.
Wow, what an impressive conservative MP who represents Canadians in government. Sure, I can't say his name, and also sure, I don't even know what he said there. This was clipped by Daniel Tyree. He does run the Dominion Society. But then you got this clip here, which sort of explains how we ended up in this position of why is there so much Indian involvement with government. I want to reiterate, this is a alleged conservative, okay? He's foreign-born, and David says, should foreign-born citizens be allowed to sit in the House of Commons? The answer is no, and especially as he limps his way through the English language, he is clearly unqualified. But we have this video here, and it was put out by Gen Xer. His quote on the tweet here is, the Liberal NDP government not only were replacing Canadians in the streets, but in Parliament as well. Conservative, that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to have to read the subtitles on this clip because he used copyrighted music. He said, the Indians are now a extremely powerful political force in Canada. This was the former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau meeting with representatives of the Indian community because he depends on them for his votes. Then he gets into obviously showing in last year's election, 22 Indians, which is massive overrepresentation. People of Indian descent were elected in Parliament. There's 243 seats, 22 of them are now Indian. But this part here is crazy. He says there could be a situation where the Indians take over Canadian government in like 20 or 40 years time. It's a real risk that in Canada that near the population gets replaced by Indians. So keep in mind, this is a Chinese guy going, hey, I think the population of Canada is being replaced by Indians. It's become a clear and obvious problem, especially when you see numbers like this. And again, this was from Daniel Tyree from the Dominion Society. He said this riding is 50% Southeast Asian, and almost every candidate that ran was of that background as well. Then you wonder, how do they keep getting here? And then you got these articles talking about the foreign entrepreneurs inside the sprawling online industry selling fake Canadian visas and human transporting services, transporting illegally, let's just say that. The networks brazenly advertised fraudulent Canadian visas at street prices of up to $40K and border passage for $4K. Let's see who's taking care of this. A silver Toyota minivan pulls into a bank parking lot in Toronto's West End. Two young Punjabi men step out and start looking around for their client. Okay, interesting choice of words. A woman they've been communicating with over the previous days through texts and calls. She has agreed to pay them $4,000 to be smuggled across the border into the United States. Once again, that is going to blow back on Canada. It is going to deteriorate the relationship between both countries. But let's let the foreign entrepreneurs destroy our relationship with the United States. Speaking Punjabi, they message and call her, asking her to come outside and join them in the car to begin their journey. Very impressive foreign entrepreneurship. Well, let's check in with Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. Everybody knows Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan was absolutely pleading for foreign entrepreneurs. And let's see what they got.
A 21-year-old man from India is facing drug trafficking charges after an investigation led by RCMP's Moose Jaw Crime Reduction Team. On September the 9th, officers executed a search warrant at a residence on Main Street. They found 2.4 kilograms of methamphetamine, 386 grams of cocaine, 112 grams of fentanyl.
Nothing to see here, just another foreign entrepreneur teaching us Canadians how to do business. Because if we didn't have these guys here in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, for the Americans watching, this is, think of the most rural place you can think of, like somewhere in Kansas. And there's people out in Kansas doing this from India. Like, how strange would that look? And then you've got these guys. So the city of Surrey, which everybody knows, is absolutely packed with our very needed, very important, very cool foreign entrepreneurs.
Surrey, BC is offering one of the largest police rewards in Canadian history as the city confronts a surge in violent extortion cases. Here's CTV's Yasmin Ganda.
This home security video shows two men with their faces uncovered showing up at business owner Lovedeep Singh's family home.
Okay, so I don't know why they were so rude. Call them by their titles, which is foreign entrepreneurs, because these guys didn't work so hard to become this level of entrepreneurs, build the business that they have, to just be called two men.
It's a very tough time for my family, even especially when I just went back to my home from the work every time.
Lovedeep, his wife's name, Gagandeep. Interesting.
And my wife just started crying.
Now, a month later, the calls continue, with the extortionist threatening his family, including his 5-year-old child.
Like they know everything. Like when my kids going outside, when they come back from the school, they have like every information on the call.
There have been 44 extortion files in Surrey this year. 27 involve shootings. Now the city is stepping up with a $250,000 reward.
Oh, we brought in the big guns to crack down on everything that's happening. There he is.
For those who have committed these crimes, know this.
Oh, we also brought in Brenda Locke. She's really going to get tough on crime.
You will be caught. You will be prosecuted, and you will be held accountable.
Brenda, have you considered being tough on your calories?
The Surrey Police Service said victims have been hesitant to come forward for fear of retaliation.
What we ask them to do is, number one, do not pay. Number two, preserve the evidence.
No business community or community should really have to worry about anything like this. And so we need all of the support that we can get, and I really hope we can count on them.
I love it. He goes on to say they have their face, the license plate, they know exactly who they are, and these guys are still just running around free to do whatever they want in Surrey. Nothing strange happening in Canada. Speaking of foreign entrepreneurship, extortion, problem with our government, I'm going to link his account down below. His name's Mocha Bazirgan. I don't know how to say it. I don't know what his background is, but he does a great job showing the corruption and the issues that we have with the foreign entrepreneurs. He calls out Tim Uppel by name. He's got a pretty impressive investigative journalist report there. And if you made it this far in the video, you absolutely rock. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We're trying to get these videos out in front of more people. We are trying to grow the channel. If you want to support, you can do it through the link down below. You can do it directly through YouTube. Thank you, and have a great rest of your day.